I stared at the frozen turkey sitting on the counter. It was a 20-pound rock, solid, unyielding, sweating slightly in the frigid kitchen air. The heating system had been acting up all week, but my parents said they'd call someone after the holidays. My breath puffed out in little white clouds in front of my face. My phone lit up on the counter, vibrating against the marble. A group chat notification. Mom created, holiday bliss. A photo loaded. My mother, Susan, holding a champagne flute, beaming. Next to her, my father, Jeffrey, relaxed in a linen shirt. And in the background, my twin sisters, Ashley and Jessica, already wearing oversized sunglasses, clinking glasses in what was clearly a first-class cabin. The caption read, "Finally, some peace." Then another message followed, simple and efficient. "Boarding now. See you in 10 days. House alarm is set. Don't wait up." I looked back at the turkey. I was 13 years old. I didn't know how to cook a turkey. I didn't know how to fix a furnace. And apparently, I wasn't worth a plane ticket. I didn't cry. I didn't text back and ask why. I just stood there in the cold, realizing that family was a word they used when it was convenient. And right now, I wasn't convenient. The silence in the house felt heavy, like a physical weight pressing against my ears. I couldn't cook the turkey, so I found a frozen burrito in the back of the freezer. It was old, the wrapper coated in frost, but it was calories. I put it in the microwave and pressed start. The hum of the machine was the only sign of life in the entire house. Then, with a sharp pop, the hum died. The little yellow display light vanished. The refrigerator motor shuddered and stopped. The power was out. I stood in absolute darkness. The cold, which had been creeping in slowly from the edges of the room, suddenly rushed forward and claimed everything. My breath disappeared into the black. I didn't scream. I didn't panic. I calculated. I had a coat. I had blankets. I could survive the night if I stayed in one room. That was when twin beams of high-intensity white light swept across the kitchen window, cutting through the darkness. A car was pulling into the driveway. For a split second, a pathetic, childish part of me thought they had come back, that they had realized they couldn't leave a 13-year-old alone for 10 days. I ran to the window. It wasn't my parents' sedan. It was a massive matte black SUV, idling like a predator at the gate. A tall man stepped out, wearing a heavy wool coat that probably cost more than my mother's car. He didn't rush. He walked toward the front door with the steady, inevitable pace of someone who owned the ground he walked on. The doorbell didn't ring, no power, but his heavy knock echoed through the foyer. I opened the door. I knew who he was, even though I had only seen him in hushed conversations at funerals and in the background of old photo albums. Uncle Robert, the black sheep. The billionaire industrialist my father called soulless and my mother called dangerous. He didn't say hello. He didn't offer a hug or a single comforting word. He looked at me, really looked at me, taking in my shivering frame, the dark house, the frozen air. Then he looked past me into the black hallway. "They set the security alarm," he said, his voice rough like gravel. "But they didn't set up autopay for the electric bill." He stepped inside without waiting to be invited. He pulled off a leather glove and checked his watch. "Uncle Robert," I whispered. He looked down at me. His eyes were cold, gray, and completely devoid of pity. Analytical. Assessing. "Pack a bag, Alyssa. Essentials only. You are not staying in a museum." "Where are we going?" "Away from here." I ran upstairs. I didn't pack toys. I didn't pack the framed photo of my family on my nightstand. I packed clothes, school books, my laptop. It took 4 minutes. When I came back downstairs, he was standing in the kitchen, staring at the 20-pound turkey still sitting useless on the counter. "Leave it," he said. "Let it rot. It suits them." I walked out the front door and climbed into the passenger seat of the SUV. The interior smelled like expensive leather and conditioned air. It was warm. As we pulled away, I watched my childhood home disappear in the rearview mirror, swallowed by darkness. I didn't know it then, but I had just crossed a border. I was leaving the world of the discarded and entering the world of the architects. Living with Uncle Robert wasn't about healing. It was about recalibration. His house, a brutalist fortress of concrete and glass perched on the edge of a cliff, didn't have cozy corners. It had sightlines, structural integrity, silence, not the empty, terrifying silence of my parents' house, but a deliberate silence. Protective, controlled, For the first few months, I tried to make myself invisible. I was good at that. I moved without sound. I ate quickly, cleaned up immediately, and retreated to the guest room before anyone could remember I was there. I thought invisibility was the rent I had to pay for existing. One evening, he found me in the library, tucked into the shadow of a bookshelf, watching him work. I froze, expecting to be reprimanded. "You're doing it again," he said without looking up. "Doing what?" I asked softly. "Disappearing. You think if you're quiet enough, you won't be a burden. You think silence is a deficit." He finally looked at me, his gray eyes sharp and unwavering. "You're wrong. Silence is data." He beckoned me over and pointed to a blueprint on his desk, a complex commercial development. "Tell me what you see." I hesitated. "A lobby, elevators, offices." "Look closer." So I did. I let instinct take over, the instinct shaped by 13 years of watching a family that never watched me back. "The flow is wrong," I said. "The reception desk faces the window. The afternoon sun will blind the receptionist. The elevators are too far from the entrance. People will cluster in the middle and block the flow. It's inefficient." Robert smiled. It was sharp, almost dangerous. "Exactly. You see flaws because you've lived in the background. Your family ignored you. They treated you like furniture. But while they were posing for photos, you were studying the room." That was the moment the narrative shifted. He didn't offer pity. He offered a job description. The gift of the shadow, he called it. The ability to see the truth because no one thinks you're important enough to hide it from. "You don't talk, Alyssa," he told me. "You watch. That isn't weakness. That's power." From that day on, my real education began. He didn't buy me dolls or video games. He bought books on structural engineering, contract law, negotiation tactics. He taught me that architecture wasn't just about buildings, it was about behavior. Control the structure, and you control the people inside it. My teenage years weren't marked by proms or football games. They were marked by site visits and boardrooms where I sat quietly in the corner, noting who was lying and who was desperate. I stopped checking my phone for texts from my mother. I stopped looking at their vacation photos from the Bahamas or the Alps. Those glossy images were just facades. I was learning to look past the cladding to the rotting beams underneath. I wasn't the abandoned daughter anymore. I was a project under construction. And my foundation was being poured with steel, concrete, and cold resolve. By 16, I understood leverage better than most adults ever would. But there was one lesson left. I needed a proper workspace. My desk was a wobbly card table salvaged from the basement. Every time I erased a line, it shook. I found Robert in the solarium reviewing quarterly reports. "I need a new desk," I said. "And a drafting lamp. The lighting in my room is insufficient." He didn't look up. "How much?" $800. He paused. "No," I blinked. "He drove cars worth more than houses." "Why not?" "Because buying you furniture teaches you nothing. Building it teaches you everything." He slid a check across the table. $5,000. "This is your budget. Don't buy a desk. Design a sanctuary." He looked at me then, steady and intense. "Your family made you feel unsafe in your own home. Build a room where you are the authority. Where you are untouchable. If you can build that, you can build anything." I took the check. For 3 months, I obsessed. I tore up the carpet to expose the concrete subfloor. I painted the walls a deep slate gray that absorbed light instead of reflecting it. I designed a custom L-shaped desk and hired a local welder to build the frame, negotiating the price down by pointing out flaws in his previous work. I installed soundproofing, bought an ergonomic chair that felt like a cockpit. I didn't create a bedroom. I built a command center. When it was finished, I called him in. He stood in the doorway, scanning, testing the welds, the lighting, the acoustics. Then he gave me one sharp nod. Good. That nod was worth more than the $5,000. Meanwhile, my phone still buzzed with my old life. Aspen, ski gear, hot cocoa in some luxury lodge. Hope you're studying hard. Years earlier, that would have crushed me. But sitting in my gray sanctuary, I realized something. Their rejection hadn't broken me. It had freed me. I graduated early, went to architecture school, fully funded by Robert, who called it an investment in infrastructure. I finished top of my class. Started my own firm at 24. By 28, I was designing skylines. Uncle Robert didn't fade. He concluded. His heart was failing. Structural integrity compromised beyond repair. He refused the hospital, chose the master bedroom overlooking the ocean. 2 days before the end, he called me in. On the nightstand was a thick, sealed manila envelope. That, he rasped, is the demolition order. Do not open it until the reading. I won't. They'll come back, he said. They'll smell the money. Don't let them in. Not into your head. Not into this house. He died efficiently between 4 and 5 a.m. I didn't cry. I called the lawyer, secured the perimeter, scheduled the funeral. It was supposed to be private. At 10:55 a.m., 3 rented limousines rolled up the gravel drive. My family stepped out in black silk and oversized sunglasses. My mother sobbed dramatically for a brother she hadn't spoken to in 15 years. My sisters live-streamed their grief. They walked right past me. They didn't see the CEO of a multi-million-dollar firm. They saw the 13-year-old in the frozen kitchen. After the service, they cornered me. We'll take it from here, my mother said sweetly. Do you have the keys? The lawyer has them, I replied. The reading is tomorrow. Until then, the house is sealed. Sealed, Ashley scoffed. It's our house. Tomorrow, I said, and walked away. The next day, we sat across from each other in a dark mahogany conference room. The lawyer opened a thin file. To my brother Jeffrey, I forgive the debt you accrued in 1998. You are now solvent. You're welcome. Jeffrey blinked. Where's the cash? To my sister-in-law Susan, I leave you the silence you gave your daughter. Her face drained of color. And to my niece, Alyssa, the architect of her own life, I leave everything. Silence. Then chaos. They accused. They shouted. They demanded. The lawyer raised a hand. There is one more document. A yellowed loan agreement dated December 24th. 15 years ago. The day of the frozen turkey. $500,000 borrowed. Collateral. Full parental rights to Alyssa Miller. They hadn't abandoned me. They had sold me. I looked at the number. 500,000. That was my price. We were in a bind, my father snapped. We did what we had to do. It cost you exactly $500,000, I said calmly. And you spent it. They demanded their share. You got your share, I said, standing. 15 years ago. The transaction is complete. My mother reached for me. We're your parents. No, I said quietly. You're borrowers. And your credit is no good here. I walked out without looking back. Not angry. Not broken. Clear. Because in the end, it wasn't a tragedy. It was a receipt.